talk about who made the team and who didn't make the team. How does that all work in the TV world?
Well, luckily in the TV world, 5 o'clock is our earliest show where I have to kind of break it down. Sometimes I was on our 4:30 as well, but we don't have to have it every second of every day the way some others do. And gosh, that's a grind for those that are trying to get all of that done. But for me, I'm just looking at A, the surprises, B, the injury news, and see what's missing. What are we not thinking about? What's the ripple effect of what we're seeing?
Okay, so it starts coming down, and you're hitting reload, and you're getting your report ready. What are some of the, I made a big deal over the past few weeks is like, listen, these are real people, and these are real human beings. But as a Packers fan, I don't know that I needed to know the name of 90 guys. I need to know the name of 53 guys. Then there's 17 on the practice squad, that sort of thing. Who jumped out at you as some of those names that you didn't necessarily expect to see yesterday that you ended up seeing? Was it Isaiah Simmons? Was it McCole Hardman? Or were there others who you kind of thought maybe this young guy has a chance to make it, but didn't end up making it?
I'd say the biggest surprise wasn't the big name veterans who had washed up elsewhere and didn't latch on here. I think it's not a huge surprise because he was always fighting for the edge of the roster, but Christian Welch, the Iola Scandinavia, Wisconsin native, had a good camp. And when Simmons got cut, I thought it might make room for Welch on the 53.
Sure.
He's a guy who's been around the league for looking to have a sixth NFL season this year. So I think someone's going to either scoop him up via waivers or he'll be on a practice squad and get elevated due to his special teams acumen on game days. He's going to play in the NFL this year. I thought once again he had a good camp, but once again it wasn't enough here.
I know Andy Herman from Pack-A-Day Radio, who hosts the show right before this from 8 to 9, thinks there's a chance with guys who could get put on the injured reserve designated to return list today that there could be a couple of guys there that Christian Welch might even have a spot with the Packers this year. It just
could.
just for numbers purposes and the way the rules work in the league, like you have to get down to your official 53. You can only put 2 guys on IRDR, but then today they can put more guys on IRDR and they can bring a couple of those guys back, and that Welch could end up being one of those guys.
Yeah, it could. And I think a lot of people around these parts would like that with the local product showing out.
Absolutely. So you talked about some of those older guys and washed up a little bit or haven't hit other places. When Isaiah Simmons came in and we were all sold and told about his freak athleticism. And I think even today, none of us debate his freakish athleticism.
Right.
But what seems to be the disconnect with him that he is this athlete? He was a first-round draft pick a number of years ago, and whether it's the Cardinals, the Giants, or now the Packers, like once the pads go on, the helmets go on, the lights come on, and an NFL game happens, whether it's preseason or not, he just looks lost. Like how does that happen?
There's more to the game than just physical skills, and he's proof in the pudding of that. I can only speak to what I saw in training camp and preseason.
Sure.
But I was on the field in Indianapolis, and I saw him chase down Anthony Richardson from behind and tackle that beast of a human being that is Richardson. But also in the same play, he had to turn around and then chase him down. He didn't meet him at the line of scrimmage. Yep. It's diagnosing the play, I think, that's holding him back,
Interesting.
Because obviously it's not the physical stuff.
Yep.
He's got all the physical tools.
Absolutely. Dave Schrader, WBAY, joining us here. I know you got a lot going on today, and we appreciate the time. Yep. Quarterback room real quick. Clifford and Algersma, do we know who's coming back? Do we know who's practice squatting from there yet?
I don't think we know yet. We'll find out. I mean, Clifford obviously has an intimate knowledge of everything and has worked side by side helping Jordan Love get ready week in, week out. Algersma is a younger talent that you could develop, and you don't know if you've reached his ceiling yet. I think the Packers probably know what the ceiling on Clifford is.
Right.
So that's a choice between what you know and what you think you might be able to develop that you don't know yet.
And then looking at, not looking at the cuts necessarily, but in the universe of the cuts from yesterday, is there a position group now that has your interest in a way that you weren't expecting, or that all of a sudden you look at this roster and you think to yourself, man, we really got to keep an eye on this X room, whatever room that might be, because of how everything went down on cut day?
I think obviously offensive line's interesting. They make a trade. They have 7 that are probably good, 6 that are fighting for the 5 starting spots. Injuries always happen in the trenches, so that's always interesting. Obviously, on the defensive line, you keep another UDFA and Nazir Stackhouse, and you're pretty deep there.
Yep.
You hate to go into a season saying, well, what if this happens? This could be an issue. Also, not just looking at the rooms, but I think the room that you really need your frontline star to be healthy and play like a frontline star is running back. Josh Jacobs is everything to this team, and it's not a running back league by any stretch. It's a passing game. But what he showed last year, and as being a bell cow back, if he can do that again, they're in a great spot. But without him, Matt LaFleur's found ways to win a lot of games, a lot of different ways. But what they really need is for Jacobs to stay healthy, because I don't think they want Wilson or Brooks or returning from IR Lloyd to be the back you count on. I look at that spot as one where you need the Jacobs to lock it down and do what he's done in the past.
And it worked. It worked well for them last year. But you're right.
Sure
it's not exactly a room. They're like, listen, those guys are nice players. But if they had to step in and be 1A, I think there'd be some concerns, right?
Yes, at least for me.
Yep. All right. What about real quick? What about the wide receiver room? I know there's some people that were, what is Savion Williams, availability going to be? Are Reed and Wicks going to be available? Like, is this all of a sudden going to be a short-handed room in a room that 2 weeks ago we thought was overstocked?
We'll find out in 11 days, right?
That's
Christian Watson's on PUP. You got 3 walking wounded that aren't on IR, but we'll see. Because you do need your frontline talent for those first 2 weeks. You're facing the 1 seed in the NFC last year and the team that beat the 1 seed in the NFC 4 days later on a Thursday.
Yeah, it doesn't get easy for them. It's a fun start that it's at home, but the opponents are not easy. Anything else, Dave Schrader, WBAY in Green Bay? Anything else stand out to you or catch your attention today, or that for the rest of this week you're keeping your eye on, especially as all of a sudden practices go from having 4,400 people at them in Packers uniforms to just having, your 53 guys and then your 17 practice guys at some point, but it feels a lot smaller. Anything you're keeping your eye on?
I'm keeping an eye on those receivers. I want to see how good they look. I want to look at Jordan Love's thumb. Is he taking snaps immediately today? Does he wait until next week to ramp that up? I'm looking at the injured guys and how fully they appear to be participating. And we don't get to watch all of practice now. Now we're like stretch and a little bit of Indy and then out. So it'll be really interesting to watch and discern what we can. And it all leads up for us. It's a busy week because we're getting you set for the season up here in Green Bay. If you have Green Bay TV, we've got Cover 2, a 1-hour playoff preview special next Wednesday from 7 to 8. So we'll be grinding away at that and trying to get you all the nuggets we can to fill that show.
Nice. Well, I look forward to that, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon and get all your insight on everything that's going on at practice and in the locker room. Because being here in Milwaukee, it's we can get up there sometimes, but it's nice when we have friends who are in the room and in the building. So thank you for all your hard work. Go start your day. I know you got a ton of stuff to get to today. So thanks for taking a few minutes here and jumping on, Dave.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Dave Schrader, WBAY in Green Bay, sports director. And he's covering every day he is in that locker room. He's at practice and he's getting it done. There's so many different ways to go on this one. I know on Pack a Day Radio, Tommy and Andy were talking about it a lot, about all the different moves and all the different position rooms. And we kind of ended there with Dave with the wide receiver room. And Tommy, I know you guys talked about the wide receiver room quite a bit on Pack a Day in that first segment. Why don't you kind of recap where you stood on that? Because I think you had an interesting take on that.
Yeah, I just am over. So we weren't really surprised about any of the moves at the wide receiver position. From a realistic, Packers standpoint, I get why they decided to keep 6 wide receivers. They drafted 2 guys this year. You knew they were going to be a part of the team.
Yep.
Malik Heath has been in the offense, has been with the organization now for a couple of years. And I had just made the comment that I'm kind of over it, and if Malik Heath was a guy who had sure hands every time he comes out when he is called upon for the Green Bay Packers, okay, yeah, sure, let's rock with Malik Heath. But I just didn't think that, Malik Heath does not excite me, and maybe your wide receiver 6 should not excite you. but I was really advocating for Julian Hicks. I thought he had a very good preseason showing.
Sure, he did.
And in camp, Andy kind of gave a lot of compliments on him as well too. And I know our good friend Peter Bukowski also very high on Julian Hicks. I just thought it would be something different, right? And we saw a lot of the same stuff when it came to the wide receiver position for Green Bay this year in preseason and in training camp, right? The drops were a problem, and no one was really standing out other than Matthew Golden, it felt like the entire time, which I am super excited to see what he can do for the Green Bay Packers, and maybe like too excited, maybe. But I think he's going to be wide receiver number 1 on day 1, and I don't think that's very common for a rookie wide receiver, regardless of where you get drafted. But based on that, and based on what Green Bay decided to keep, I think they think that as well, Mitch.
Yeah, I think you're right. When you talk about Malik Heath, I believe, and I don't know, I don't have, I guess we could go back in Twitter and find 22, 21, 23. I think there were fans who both Malik Heath and Bo Melton were like stands for those guys. We're like, Malik Heath just needs a shot and he's going to blow up. Bo Melton just needs a shot and he's going to blow up. Like, these guys can get it done. Every time they get a chance out there, they get it done. And I would say every time they got out there, they didn't embarrass themselves, right? I wouldn't say they blew up. There were dropped issues, which seemed to be contagious from the guys who are ahead of them on the depth chart. But they both had moments, right? They both had moments over the past couple of years. Heath and Melton have both had a moment here and there where they're like, wow, this is fun. And I think that's what got the fans excited about what those guys could potentially do. But I think you're absolutely right. Like, there's some Malik Heath fatigue at this point where it's like, okay, so Malik Heath is who he is. And I think if you ask Brian Gutekunst, that's exactly who he wants. He doesn't want a question mark. He thinks, yep, Julian Hicks can get it done. Even a guy like Will Shepherd, like, this guy's got some talent. This guy can get it done. But you know what? We know what we have in Malik Heath. And so often, we've seen this with the Packers almost more than any other organization in sports. When you know what you have and you're comfortable with that, you might keep that at the risk of taking someone else with more upside, but also more downside. Just because you're comfortable, you're happy. It's those, and I love all our fans out there. Our fans are amazing. But everybody knows that couple that stays together and maybe shouldn't still be together. But they're together because it's comfortable. It's easy. And listen, like, splitting up, whether it's divorce or moving out or whatever, like, those things are complicated. Like, that is not easy. And so for a lot of people, it's easier to just stay together. I think the Packers embody that sometimes, where sometimes it's just easier to stay with who you have and who you know than to have to furnish a whole new apartment and furnish a whole new locker and sew a whole new uniform or whatever that might look like. And I think that ends up being both to Heath and Melton this year, who, I know he switched positions, but the people, the powers that be, like those two guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they made things about as interesting as they could have. I didn't think that there was anyone super shocking that gets cut. But as far as, you bring in Isaiah Simmons in the offseason and he does not make the team. You bring in Mecole Hardman, who you signed in the offseason, and he does not make the team.
Right.
You decide to not keep Christian Welch on this initial 53-man roster. Kalen King, who is really balling out in preseason games, also does not make this roster. I thought that keeping 6 defensive tackles was interesting. I'm excited to see Nazir Stackhouse get his opportunity as the UDFA
until the trade happens.
Well, yeah, if that's going to happen, I agree that's, but I thought they made it about as interesting as they could have. I just really wish that they would have went somewhere else with wide receiver 6. That's really my biggest complaint. And I guess if that's your biggest complaint about your team on cut day, like, not too bad, right?
Well, and you just said it on cut day. Cut day is not October, and October is not December. And I remember we started this show October 14th last year. And I think even in that first week, I said, this Green Bay Packers team is not going to be the Green Bay Packers team we see in December. Like 2 months away, it's going to look different. What we see on August 27th is not going to be the team in October, is not going to be the team in December. I mean, first of all, in that room, a healthy Christian Watson changes that room immediately. But there are going to be injuries. There's going to be opportunities. I mean, I still think that the day that Christian Watson gets traded, gets activated, Romeo Doubs gets traded to the Steelers. Like, I think that still happens.
Well, and I think that what they did as well shows some optimism. I was talking about this with Andy. Like, they have to be optimistic that all these guys are healthy for week 1 based on what they decided to keep.
Like, banged up, but healthy enough to play.
Right. They didn't put Savion Williams on the IR/DR yet. They have, they didn't decide to keep anyone different. Like, Malik Heath knows the offense, right? So maybe he's going to have to play in week 1 because of some of these banged up injuries.
Yep.
But that's my thought, is they decided to keep everyone who's already been on the team because they didn't want to have to really rely on someone in week 1 who might have to get some playing time, and maybe Malik Heath has to get some playing time week 1.
All right, I want to do this real quick because I feel like I make such a big deal out of not caring about preseason, about not caring about training camp, about not caring about any of these players. And it's that I don't care about them with the name on the front of the jersey, right? Because they're not going to be wearing Packers jerseys in regular season games. But I do want to read through the list of the guys who got cut because they are real people. And whether they have a dream to play in the NFL and never will, whether they've played in the NFL and might not again, I think it's worthy. Israel Abanikanda, Deslin Alexander, Jonathan Baldwin, Corey Ballantyne, Brant Banks, Jared Bartlett, Sean Clifford, Tyler Cooper, Tyrion Davis Price, Taylor Algersma, James Esther, Nicole Hardman, Tyron Herring, Julian Hicks, Trey Hill, Amar Johnson, Cornelius Johnson, Jamon Johnson, Kalen King, JJ Lippy, Johnny Lumpkin, Mark McNamee, Aaron Mosby, Isaiah Nair, Devontae O'Malley, Will Shepard, Isaiah Simmons, Jalen Simpson, Lacetus Smith, Messiah Swenson, Kadeem Telfort, and Christian Welch. And the Packers, what's amazing about the sport of football is the Packers are one of 32. Every team sent out a list this long of guys that they cut yesterday. Like that whatever, 30 names, like 900 guys yesterday lost their jobs in the NFL. And now more than half of them will end up on practice squads, or they'll be on different teams, or they'll go through waivers and whatever. But like, that's a crazy industry. We talk about how crazy radio is. And we know some of our friends here, positions were eliminated recently. And it seems like, once or twice a year in big radio, whether it's Odyssey or iHeart or ESPN or whoever it is, there's cuts. And that's just the reality of the earth we live on these days. But that's just like, that there's that one day of all these cuts. It's just like, so we wish them all well in their future endeavors and we move on. And now we look at, as we've done, we look at the wide receiver room. We look at the defensive line room. We see which one of these two, I know which one you want, Tommy. Which quarterback do you think ends up on the practice squad?
I think it's going to be Sean Clifford.
Do you?
Yeah, again, just like comfortable being in the quarterback room already with Jordan Love all these years now. I believe, will this be his third year with the team?
That feels right.
It feels right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he like a third stringer and then a third stringer, and now it'll be another third stringer? So
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that Sean Clifford returns back. I think they just like what he brings to the room. If he's got some sort of relationship with Jordan, that's going to put him ahead of Algersma already. So I don't think that that'll be a shock. I did think that I do wonder what happens when Marshawn Lloyd comes back from the designated to return list, if they decide to keep 4 running backs, because that will be crowded, I think. But I thought all 3 of those guys, Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks, did enough as well to keep their jobs as well.
Yeah, I think you're right with the running back room. So Marshawn Lloyd is out for the first 4 weeks. Is that?
Yeah, you might as well. It might as well be 2 more PUP lists.
Right.
Because isn't PUP the same thing? You have to miss 4 weeks.
Yeah. Sean Clifford, by the way, is 1-for-1 in his NFL career. Who did he complete that pass to?
Ooh, Malik Heath.
You had a 50-50 shot.
It was
picked the wrong one.
Oh, it was Bo Melton?
It was Bo Melton.
Okay, all right.
A 37-yard pass to Bo Melton in a 33-10 win against the Vikings.
And no one will ever do that again in MLB in NFL history.
What's that?
Complete a pass to Bo Melton.
Well, hopefully they do. Well, because that means Bo Melton's getting pick sixes left and right, baby.
Yeah, but no one will ever complete a reception.
That's right.
To Bo Melton ever again.
That was December 31st, 2023, where he made he played in his second game. He actually debuted September 10th. Remember when remember the Justin Fields crowning game when all of Chicago media and all the Chicago Bears fans said Justin Fields is going to destroy Jordan Love in the season opener.
Was that the
and then the Packers went down there and destroyed the Bears?
I thought you were talking about the rain game where they beat San Francisco and they're all like flexing in the end zone, sliding across the water. You remember that one too? Yeah.
No, that week 1 of 2023 when and actually Sean Clifford took a knee in that game, and then played the last game of the year. Where he completed that pass against the Vikings. So lots of Packers news and notes. We are like glued to Andy Herman NFL. Any news and notes that he has will be right here at the Fan Milwaukee as well. We will put it up there as we watch. I got a breaking news alert that Adam Thielen got traded from from the Panthers back to the Vikings. I kind of want to email ESPN and be like, that's not breaking.
It's actually very big news for Vikings fans, just because they had no one else after Justin Jefferson.
Right, because Addison is out for how long?
I think it's also 4 games. Okay. It's 3 or 4 games for his suspension. And they had Rondell Moore get tear the ACL. So they had
they needed somebody.
They had Jalen Naylor, I think, was their next guy. Yeah. So what
happened to that guy? Wasn't he supposed to be good?
I think you're mixing up Jalen Naylor with Jalen Rager.
Am I? Okay.
Jalen Naylor.
From Philly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
See, I know you. I know you too well.
Yes. It is 67 degrees and sunny here in Hales Corners. A high of 76 today, and it's going to be just a beautiful day. So get on out there. Today is Little Rumble's first day of school. So happy first day of school. She did not get enough sleep the past 2 days. So today could be a little bit of a struggle as we enter 7th grade. We all remember what 7th grade was like. That was my worst behaved year, Tommy. 7th grade, like me as a 7th grade boy, that was easily my worst behaved year of my school career.
I would probably say that's in contention for me too. Yeah.
I just feel like by 8th grade you wisen up a little bit and you're ready to be done. So you don't waste time being dumb.
I might have had my most misbehaved years after graduating high school.
That's just
if we're counting those years.
That's just like a stamp of awesomeness.
Right. Yeah. So but 7th grade before high school ended, I would argue that's right where I was too at my worst.
This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. Tons of Packers news and notes to get to, and we will get to them throughout the show. But we had an easy one last night. Up 8-3, cruising, no stress, no issues. Like, Brewers going to beat the Diamondbacks and it's going to be great and it's easy and Miz gets the win. Like, everybody's going to be happy. And then the Diamondbacks said, not so fast, my friends. They tied it up at 8. And so basically we got a bottom of the 9th celebration. And I know the players celebrated. I know it's great. They don't really feel like a celebration, though. So we'll get to some Brewers talk when we come back here on the Mason Crosby Show. We're in the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Mitch Nelles. This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. My name is Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. Mason's golfing. Today's day 3 of his tournament, day 3 of 3. Tommy, we probably shouldn't really talk about it, though. Like, it has not gone well for our friend the kicker.
Yeah,
I don't know how today's going.
Let me update you guys here. So Mason sent us the link of the Pro Cup scoring is what we're working with here.
Yep, which I don't understand at all, and I'm okay with that.
I also do not understand it at all, because the number, you want a higher number, which I've always thought was the wrong thing in golf.
Agreed. You're on it.
There are a lot of people on here that you would recognize the name. Joe Pavelski is leading right now.
Badger.
Yeah. Tyler Clippard is in second.
Not a Badger, but relief pitcher for the Nationals.
Is there someone else named Mike Leach we're supposed to know? Because the only one I can think of is dead right now.
Yes.
So I don't know who Mike Leach is. But
is it L-E-A or L-E-E?
L-E-A. L-E-A-C-H, yes. Aaron Hicks, Phil Nevin, Josh Donaldson, Cody Ross, Patrick Peterson, like all of these guys, Tyler Eifert, Brett Kern, Mark Rippon, Jay Feely, Matt Ryan. Notice how I've not said Mason Crosby at any of the time here. Mason Crosby currently tied for 67th with old friend Kyle Loesch.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
Because I saw, so somebody must have started today, because he was tied for 67 when they started today, I thought, with Bronson Arroyo.
Oh, okay, yeah. So looks like he's also tied with Clay Buchholz. And I told him.
Oh, that's what I meant. I meant Clay Buchholz, not Bronson Arroyo. A random Red Sox pitcher.
Do you remember who I told him yesterday? I was like, we got to catch Vince Carter.
Vince Carter,
like he is one behind Vince Carter.
All right.
So
John Leach is a former American football player who was a long snapper, of course. He played college football at Boston University, which doesn't even have a football team anymore.
This is Mike Leach, though.
Oh, this is John Michael Leach. He goes by Michael.
Oh,
he goes by Mike Leach.
Okay.
Sorry, his name is John Michael Leach. He goes by Mike. He was signed by the Titans as a UDFA in 2000. He then played 16 seasons for the Titans, the Bears, the Broncos, and the Cardinals. Wow.
I'm looking right now.
Long snapper, baby.
Looks like right here, Mason went bogey to start.
What is he doing?
He parred on hole 5 and then went bogey, double bogey, bogey.
Is he even trying?
45 on the front 9, like 2 handicap, no shot. What are we doing here, Mason? Then the back 9 gets a little better.
Is it the Dallas Heat, you think?
He goes par, bogey, birdie, bogey, par. 39 on the back 9. So
unbelievable.
What is that, an 84? Like, I mean, Mason Crosby is the most mid golfer of all time. What are we doing here?
Yeah, this is absolutely brutal.
So this is how the scoring works, Mitch. I just figured it out. If you bogey, it's 0 points.
Okay.
If you par, it's 2 points.
Okay.
If you birdie, it's 4 points.
Yeah.
And you lose a point if you double bogey.
Yeah.
So I would assume it's probably 6 points for an eagle then, too.
I mean, I know he's got day 3, but if I were him, I'd just get on the plane to Tennessee today and just call it a wrap. This is the Mason Crosby Show, where we make fun of Mason Crosby's golf game. But I kind of wish he was here today, and I know he'll be back on Friday to get his take on like what this week is like. I know we talked about it before it happened, but it is a weird week. It's got to be weird to walk through that locker room today and just have 30 guys missing. And I know they have the auxiliary locker room, and now everybody moves in and whatever. However, I don't know. I kind of want to know how it works. So we'll talk to Mason about that on Friday. But last night at AmFam Field, Jacob Misiorowski cruising, doing Jacob Misiorowski things. I think had not given up a hit through the first 3 innings, and then ran into some issues in the 5th, and gave up some runs. But the Brewers had scored, 5 in the 3rd inning for the 2nd night in a row.
Mm-hmm.
The Brewers were up 6-0. And I think for the past 2 months, before 2 nights ago, when the Brewers were up 5-0, when the Brewers are up 5-0 or the Brewers are up 6-0, like game's over. I mean, literally game's over. This bullpen has been so good. This bullpen has been so dominant. The pitching staff has been so good that we haven't had to worry about anything going on with the when the Brewers have had a lead like that. And the past two nights, like the Diamondbacks of all teams, and listen, the Diamondbacks are 64 and 69. They were supposed to be better. Corbin Burns obviously was brought in to be their ace and is out for the year. And so their season went a little sideways. But they're not a terrible team. They're an okay team. But that they come back. They score 3 in the 7th off of Tobias Myers. They score 2 in the 8th off of Jared Koenig, who I know you've had on Tommy watch for a while now. Yeah, wow, that's how you feel about Jared Koenig?
He's buns. Yeah,
I mean,
I just
his ERA's up to 3.5.
Like, do you have more faith in Grant Anderson or Jared Koenig when they go out there? Right? It's kind of like
I worry about both.
It's a horse apiece, right? I think, and both of them don't really have that bad of numbers. But you also get compared now to Uribe and McGill, and McGill's had some struggles over the last week or so too. But the bullpen is held to that high standard because of how many great arms are in that bullpen. And Jared Koenig is one of the guys who, if he's supposed to be that situational lefty or come in when there's more lefties in the lineup, I don't understand it. I think that no matter what, it should be the leverage situations. Koenig should come in maybe the 7th. The 8th inning should be Uribe, no matter what. And I would love to even see if Uribe in a playoff situation or a must-win game, if he can stretch 2 innings, if he's gone out there and been comfortable too, because I have more faith in Uribe on inning number 2 than I do in Koenig on inning number 1.
And I apologize. I said Mizrowski got into some trouble in the 5th. This is in the 4th where he gave up that 3-run homer. Then he came back in.
Pitched the 5th after.
Pitched the 5th and pitched a clean 5th.
Yes.
He did give up a double in it, but he had a couple strikeouts and a ground out. I've so many different ways I want to go with this, but let's start. So Mizrowski, 5 innings, 10 strikeouts, looks great for the most part. And walked a couple guys, but but are you worried at all that because of how hard he pitches and how he pitches, he gives up a lot of hard hit balls? We saw last night, the ground rule double before the 3-run homer
saved him.
Yeah. Another double in the 5th. And before that, I mean, he was 1, 2, 3 in the 1st and the 2nd and the 3rd. He walked a hitter. So he only walked 1 guy last night. Is that right? I believe that's right. 1 walk, which is a great number for him, but he does give up home runs from time to time. His first challenge in Major League Baseball was when he gave up that grand slam to the Mets. He does give up the long ball. Is that a specific concern to you, Tommy?
Well, when you're going to be a fastball pitcher, isn't it always, right? Isn't that what we've always said about Freddie Peralta over the years as well? We've seen it out of Woodruff as well in years past, that he's now trying to get away from it because he's trying to use more off speed a lot of the time. But
he's basically Greg Maddux now.
Yeah, I just think that Jacob Mizrowski is 23 years old. He just struck out 10 batters in a game. He can come in and lock things down when he needs to. And I think as the game goes on, when he is facing that lineup a couple of times, they're sitting fastball. It's 103, but actually yesterday, Mitch, I think he only threw 7 or 9 pitches over 100. And I was telling Sparky, I think he's actually a better, more efficient pitcher if he is sitting around 98, 99 and just trying to paint corners, as opposed to rear back and throw it at 100%, where he does get to 102, 103. It's exciting. It's awesome to see. And it's a freakish arm for sure.
Yep.
But I do think that there is something to be said where his efficiency is actually what got him to where he is now. It is when he got consistent, we saw, hey, he's not walking a lot of batters in AAA Nashville anymore, right? And it really progressed him up the ladder and got him to the big leagues. In his first big league start, he did walk 4 batters. Like, people forget that because he didn't give up a hit during that time, but he walked 4 batters in that game. It was that second one against Minnesota when he took the perfect game into the 6th inning or whatever it was, right?
Yep.
Where he looked amazing, and he was able to showcase that with his efficiency. So if throwing 102 is what he's trying to do every time, I don't think that's necessarily the best Jacob Mizorowski you get. I was telling this with Sparky yesterday. I do not think he starts a playoff game. I just do not. I think he is the first man out of the pen. I think they use him after Brandon Woodruff, like first guy out wherever Woodruff pitches, then go to Miz. I love the 10-mile-an-hour jump in velocity that you would have to face. And I think that Miz has showcased that he is really dominant in his first inning of work whenever he comes out. He's given up runs. I think he just won.
The Cubs.
I think it was just one game.
Right.
It was where he gave up first inning runs, and it was that Cubs game at American Family Field. So I would say Miz is your Aaron Ashby from the right side when it comes to playoff time.
414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. That's the Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line. Are you encouraged by what the Miz last night? Do you agree with Tommy that he could be coming out of the pen in the playoffs? I said that while he was hurt, that I would, my problem with that is that you kind of mess with his rhythm, and that's why I like piggybacking him with Woodruff. I think that's perfect. You could probably even piggyback him with Quintana too if you wanted to do that.
I don't know if Quintana's going to start a playoff game either.
That's a good point. But then you're right. Can Nestor Cortez come back? He
just to give up dongs in the playoffs.
I don't know. Did you see what he did to the Dodgers this week?
What did he do?
6 innings, 1 hit.
Yeah, care.
The Padres crushed them.
Don't care.
All right, just saying. He had a nice he had a nice or no he had a nice game against the Dodgers, and they said he exercised some demons. 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. How you feeling about Jacob Mizorowski and his start last night? That started off fine, give up a 3-run homer. Then the bullpen let the Diamondbacks back into it, and it ended up being an 8-8 game. We got to the bottom of the 9th. And listen, that's where I think that's one of the places where the Brewers do separate themselves. Whether it's Uribe, last night Shelby Miller pitched really well, whether it's McGill, who I think we still trust for the most part, whether it's the rest of the back end, whether Mizorowski gets put there or not. When the Brewers get to a game like this, and we saw this with Arizona, I think we saw this with San Francisco a little bit as well. When other teams are putting guys with ERAs of 4, 5, and 6 in late inning positions, and the Brewers are putting guys with ERAs of 2, like I feel a lot better in close games, even with Shelby Miller, but definitely with Uribe, definitely with McGill, where San Francisco all of a sudden has a guy who's like, obviously can throw 98, 99. Murillo could throw that fast last night, but he gives up a single to Contreras. Then he walks Yelich. Then he walks Vaughn. And it's like, listen, the bases are loaded with nobody out. They put in a new pitcher, but I'm pretty confident the Brewers are going to find a way to win this game. And what does Sal do? Sal comes up and he hits a hard line. He hits a hard line drive to center, not deep enough to score Lockridge, but a nice piece of hitting. Like Sal did nothing wrong there. Like he drilled that ball the way you're supposed to. It just happened to be right at the center fielder. But then Mr. Collins steps up and he hits the sac fly to win the game, and game over. Like, and they mob him, and it's exciting, but it's still kind of like I'm watching the game and I'm thinking to myself, this is great, but this game should have been over 20 minutes ago. Like we didn't need to use Shelby Miller in this game. And I don't know if Tobias Maj comes in and struggles, but I don't know if I want him to just like leave him in for more and become a piece in that bullpen. I don't know what they're trying to do with Myers or like Easton McGee was warming up last night.
They're just trying to get to October, Mitch, at this point.
But who's pitching it out of the like the way they're managing their bullpen? I'm not sure they have enough bullpen arms that when they're in October, they're going to know what to do.
No, because I think they're just using every single arm that they have that's not named McGill, Uribe, Mears, Ashby. Like, they're going to try to use these guys as little as possible until they get to October. So when there is a game where, hey, we have Tobias Myers up here or Easton McGee up here, we're either up by 5 or down by 5, whatever it is. Like, I'm not using one of these arms that I just named previously, because that's going to be the hope. I think that what you see from the Brewers when the playoff time comes is that you're hopeful that Freddie or Woody can give you those 5 innings, right? 5 innings in the playoffs, maybe 6 if everything's going well. Then you get 1 to 2 innings out of Ashby Mizorowski.
Yep.
And then you try to separate Uribe and McGill so that you can have each of them close a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. 608 writes in 414-677-1250, the Nikolai Law Fan Talking text line, 414-677-1250. 608 writes in, that's TNP Walkie. My nickname for Jared Koenig is Filler. You know what stinks about going on vacation? When it's over. Have a good day, TNP Walkie. You're not wrong, T. I'm excited to be back. 5 hours of radio is a lot. For those of you who don't know, I'm in for Sparky today and the rest of the week. Today, we are taking the show on the road. We're going to be at Stenny's on 2nd and National. So if you're out and about, if you want to come in, I'm a fan of the wings. I do the wings. Actually, the last time I was at Stenny's was, I don't know if it was St. Patrick's Day or St. Patrick's Day weekend or whatever, but I had a bowl of like Guinness beef stew. Oh, yeah. The girls had softball practice. There's a warehouse like a couple blocks away from Stenny's where the girls do some indoor hitting. So they were at indoor hitting softball practice. And I was like, I'm going to go get an actual Guinness and a bowl of Guinness beef stew. And I'm going to watch, man, the Badgers basketball team was playing somebody. I think it might have been Big Ten tournament. So it was probably
Wasn't
like the week before.
That was the Big Ten tournament championship. Didn't Marquette play earlier in the day? That was the Chamois Shuffle that we almost.
Oh, was it?
Wasn't
okay.
it the same time?
I think you're right. Yep.
Because it was me and Charlie were out on that, and then you went to Stenny's.
And I was like, I'm never out because I'm old and boring now.
Right.
But I'm actually out. Where are you guys? Where are the cool guys in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
absolutely. Before we get to break, Tommy, I know you haven't heard of this guy before, so I wanted to make sure that you knew that this guy was good.
Terang, right field, deep, and gone again for Terang. His month of August, man, this guy's on fire.
You knew that was out of the ballpark. There's your add-on runs.
Yeah, remember when you guys, like, he's the best player on the team.
You guys... Dude, I liked Bryce Strang from day one.
Yeah, well,
not as much as you.
I just wanted you guys.
I was always on board with
I just wanted you guys to get to Bryce Terang as your favorite player. That's where I want.
Do you know why I've always loved Bryce Terang? Because in high school, I was a really good fielding second baseman who couldn't hit. Like that was
That's
my
not
position.
Bryce Terang anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
But that was coming into the year. Like I liked him all coming into the year.
Yeah, he's awesome.
This is like I don't understand, and I know they've said that that this is, they think he's got this. This is unbelievable. I mean, it is unbelievable. All right, real quick, I wanted to get back to Mizorowski. Tommy, I believe, and this goes back to your discussion about whether he's most effective throwing 102 or 100 or 98 or whatever it is. I believe there are people in the Milwaukee Brewers analytics office right now, guys who work for the Brewers who do all they do is analytics, who are trying to figure out what speed is best for Mizorowski to throw at with regards to not having what happened with the Cubs. And what I mean by that is not having a million foul balls. I think the concern we run into with Mizorowski, with walks and with going deeper in games, is that when you throw 100, you are going to have certain hitters who just foul off 10 straight pitches. They're not good enough to hit a 102-mile-an-hour fastball, but they're good enough to get a piece of it. And so all of a sudden, like Nico Horner to me is and that at bat from that Cubs game still sticks out to me. Like Nico Horner is going to, every time Nico Horner for the rest of his career faces Mizorowski, he's going to foul off 10 balls before he either walks or gets a hit or gets out, because he's that type of hitter. And there are those type of hitters. So I wonder, like, if Mizorowski throws 98 instead of 102, are you getting Nico Horner to pop out or ground out? Or are you risking, is it too much of a risk to give up a base hit? And not just Nico Horner. I mean, there are guys all over Major League Baseball who are going to have 10 pitch at bats against Mizorowski. And if he throws 96-mile-an-hour sliders against those guys instead of 102-mile-an-hour fastballs, or he tries throwing a sweeper or a curveball or whatever it is, does it make more sense? And I know that there are guys in the Brewers analytics office right now who their job is Mizorowski.
Oh yeah.
Like Ken's job is Beach in the Barbie movie. Like there are guys who their job is Mizorowski. That's it, to figure out which batters, how to get out of that at bat so you can have a 3-pitch at bat, not a 10-pitch at bat, so he can pitch another inning in every game he pitches in. He's Tommy Wirtz. I'm Mitch Nelles, aka Thunder. Mason Crosby Show is presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. Mason's back on Friday. I'm here today, and I'm in for Sparky today. I'm here tomorrow, and I'm in for Sparky tomorrow. Friday, I think I might be a little late. We'll talk about that, but then I'm also in for Sparky, so I figure I'll make it up. Remember, we're at Stenny's on 2nd and National this afternoon from 2 until 6:30. So I will be there from 2 to 5. Tommy will be there from 5 to 6:30 with a special expanded version of the leadoff show. It's a blast. More Brewers, more Packers talk coming up. We've got some other news and notes to get to as well here on the Mason Crosby Show.
Didn't we just get this one?
No, it's very similar though.
Okay.
It was a different song, but you're right. Slow.
I swear
70s
we just
rock.
had this one.
It's the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. My name's Mitch Nelles. He's Tommy Wirtz. Remember, whenever we're talking football on the Fan, our football talk is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday on CBS and Paramount Plus all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. Andy Dorf on Sports is going to join us just in a couple minutes here. We're going to talk. He's based in Phoenix, so we'll talk some Diamondbacks. We'll talk some Arizona Cardinals, but we'll also he's a Milwaukee native, so we'll talk about everything going on in the world of sports. But real quick, Tommy, I know you saw this in the midst of this is always weird. In the midst of a playoff race, we get an email from the Milwaukee Brewers that they have announced their 2026 schedule. There's no times on the games yet, but we know that the Brewers will open at home on March 26th against the White Sox and then the Rays.
Nice.
Then they go to Kansas City and Boston.
Mm-hmm.
They will play 12 games against the American League before they even play the National League next year, which is weird.
That's weird.
I'm going to have to figure out if I need to get to Boston for April 6th, 7th, and 8th for that.
Let's go.
And see if we can get there. I will say, though, if you look at the September schedule next year, we've talked a lot how there's been no Cubs on the schedule in September this year, right? The Brewers next year start with 3 in Chicago, then 3 in Cincinnati, then 3 at home against Chicago and 3 at home against Cincinnati. They then go to Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Philly, and then end the season with 3 at home against the Cardinals. So they play all 4 division foes in September. That's the way it should be. Like, the NFL has figured that out with week 18 now. You play a divisional team. There should be divisional games, and I get that it doesn't always work out because you have 5 teams in each division. You have 30 teams in the league, and so you're going to have some interleague games. But 6 games against the Cubs in the first 9 days of the season of September next year. You've got 3 in Chicago and then 3 at home against Chicago. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Andy Dorf on sports radio, a personality, friend of show, is going to join us next here on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. We are on 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, The Fan. Our studios are powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And remember, we are live on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee all day long at The Fan Milwaukee. This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. I love this song. I know you. That is, that's just one of the classics. My name's Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. Mason is golfing with Clay Buchholz right now. Former Red Sox pitcher, Rockies. I think he played on. You just hit him straight and make your putts. Come on, Mason. What's going on here? This is The Fan. We're in the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And joining us now on The Fan is part of the Sports Byline USA Broadcast Network. He's got a show on every Sunday morning, 10 to noon our time. Milwaukee native, Phoenix transplant, Andy Dorf. Mr. Dorf on Sports. How are you?
Can't complain, my friend. All is well here in the Valley of the Sun. I'm sure it made national news. I guarantee you know what happened here the other day with our
the dust storm.
Oh, unbelievable! It came through.
Is that real? I thought it was
real.
AI. When I saw some of those pictures, Andy, like that does not look. That looks like Hollywood AI.
It's as real as it gets, my friend. And when it comes through, it absolutely rips up everything in your area, and it takes everything down, and it takes about a week to recover from it. So my pool is green now, and life is not so good in the Valley of the Sun.
All right. Well, we will wish you luck with that, and keep us updated, because I will say, I saw those pictures. I was in San Francisco for a week, and I was watching some of those pictures on Twitter, and it was just like, how is this? Like, what do you do? Like, there's nothing you can do about it, right?
Run for cover. That's what you do.
Yeah,
you run
stay inside, enjoy the air conditioning. Exactly.
You guys have the extreme of the winter. We have the extreme of the crazy summer.
Well, and you don't know now because it's only been the past couple of years, but we've got the Canadian wildfires. So we do have like a layer of smoke that is the past 2-3 years that all of a sudden is like, it's nowhere near like what we saw out of Arizona. But it is something like, at least we can commiserate a little bit with you.
Yeah. Hey, we all have pain of some sort, my friend.
That's right. So I wanted to have you on. The Diamondbacks are in town. We'll get to the Cardinals. We'll talk all Milwaukee sports too. Because I know even though you're in Phoenix, you're still like, your heart still bleeds Brewers and Bucks and Packers and all those things. So being in Phoenix and watching what the Brewers have done this season, what has this Brewers season been like for a Brewers fan not in Milwaukee?
Great question, to be honest. It's been amazing. Like I want to watch every game. I really want to watch every game. I want to check it out. And here's what I love about the Brewers: they're never out of a game. They just go out there, and every guy is a tough at bat. It's amazing. Throughout that whole lineup, everybody is a tough out. And in a weird way, they're not as good, okay? But the Arizona Diamondbacks have a little bit of the Milwaukee Brewers in them. And you guys have seen that the past couple
2 nights.
Yeah.
We sure have.
Yeah, I mean, they don't quit either. And I give all that credit in the world to Torey Lovullo and the job that he's done. He's kept this locker room, man. Like, when you think about what they have done this season, you mentioned it earlier, Corbin Burns, this was supposed to be the guy. He goes out, then what happens at the trade deadline? They get rid of their guys, but they're still competitive, man. And you have to give credit where credit is due. And I've always said this about Torey. He does more with less than anybody that I've ever seen in Major League Baseball.
Wow. That's a great compliment, because, people would say that Pat Murphy's done that the past couple seasons too. Now, all of a sudden it looks like the Brewers have something. But I think when Craig left and Pat Murphy was put in charge last year, people were like, oh, like this is the beginning of the end for the Brewers, and it's gone the other way.
Absolutely. There's what can we say about Pat Murphy and the job that he's done? It's absolutely, he basically took the ball, right? He took the ball from Craig in a matter of speaking, right? He took the ball from him, and he's made it better than what Craig has done. So it's actually, it's impressive, number one, but number two, it's just a testament of the man that you guys now have in Pat Murphy. He knows what he's doing. But with that being said,
Okay.
last night, let's talk a little bit about
Sure.
what happened, right? Because I think that's what makes the science of baseball so difficult to navigate, right?
Yes.
Because you don't know when to exactly pull the trigger, and at times, sometimes you want to just go with the feel of the game, and you let it go maybe just a little bit too long, and ultimately, I think that's what happened with the Brew Crew last night. But you know what the beauty of baseball too is. It's 9 innings. And when you're the home team, you get the last opportunity to have some noise. And it's paid dividends a few times for the Brewers during that streak, the long ball that they hit against the Mets, to win that one in the bottom of the ninth. So
Contreras the other night against the Giants. Yep.
Yes, having that last at bat is so important. And you've benefited a few times from it.
Andy Dorf on Sports, joining us. Follow him on Twitter at Dorf on Sports. I think one of the things you said is exactly what we're seeing here in Milwaukee. And we kind of coined this a few weeks ago is when you play against the Brewers, you have to play baseball. And I don't mean like, obviously everybody's playing baseball, but so much, and this year's kind of gone back to reverted to the mean a little bit, but we've seen so much over the past few years, home run, walk, strikeout, and that's it. And when you play against the Brewers, you got to play 27 outs. You got to play defense for 27 outs. You got to have good at-bats for 27 outs. And I think that's why the Brewers have had so many late inning wins and opportunities to hold on is because they play baseball for 27 outs. They don't give you an out. They don't give you an inning off. They come at you all game long.
They never quit, and they can score 5. They can score in bunches. That is a huge testament to just all those guys going in that box and doing their job, man. It is really impressive. There's, like you said, there's not one easy out. Everybody makes the guy pitch to him, and I think that's been part of it too. Is throughout the league that there's a lot of watered down pitching and relieving. Yep. and guys that come in later innings are not as good, and your starters don't go as far. If you can get 5 innings out of guys now, you're thrilled. So I think the Brewers have been able to have their pitchers outlast other pitching staffs, and ultimately they've gotten some timely hitting too. And you put those two together, it's going to be a pretty successful season. My big question is will they break 100, and will they be the only team to break 100 games this year?
I mean, you look at the standings, and obviously they're on pace. They really have to go 500 the rest of the way to get to 100. And so, you would hope they'd be able to play 500 baseball. We've talked about it a lot here, especially during the 14-game winning streak, is you don't want to peak in August. You want to peak in October. So I think a lot of us aren't worried if they lose a few games here and there in September, as long as they still get there. You look at their record right now, 83-50, 133 games, so 29 to go. If they go 15-14 the rest of the way, they get to 98.
Yeah.
So they got to go a couple games over. But when you look at the overall standings in Major League Baseball, they're still 5.5 games over Detroit. 6 over Toronto, 6.5 over Philly and Chicago. So I don't think anybody else really has a chance for 100. I think it's Brewers or bust this season.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where my head is at. The Brewers may be the only team to win 100. 96 is the magic number, right? They got to beat that 96. That's the number in the organization.
They'll get there. They'll get there.
And for a moment, when the Cubs were beating up on them a little bit, that was starting to look a little bit like it might be closer than we want it to be, but they rebounded.
It might be, but
no, you made a good point though. They have to lose, right? Like we
right.
love streaks, and everybody loves getting free George Webb burgers. But at the end of the day, you have to lose a few. And I think it's when they come into the postseason, we want them coming in on a high versus them coming in on a low. And if I'm Pat Murphy, I think that I'm wondering how they handle, the last 20 games or so, because they could maybe take their foot off the gas, but I don't know if that's such a good idea when you're trying to keep momentum.
Well, that's a great point because it's so hard to put it back on, and we've seen teams do that, whether it's in a game itself or in the midst of a season. You take your foot off the gas, and somebody, not just that you lose the momentum, but somebody else senses that. So whether it's the Cubs or the Phillies or the Dodgers who think they have a chance to get to that 1 seed in the National League, if they sense that the Brewers are taking their foot off the gas, because I know the Brewers have lost a few games here. They lost 3 out of 5 to the Cubs. They then lost 2 out of 3 to the Giants. They beat Arizona the first 2 games here. But nobody thinks that the Brewers have taken their foot off the gas. Like the Brewers are still playing those 27 outs like we talked about. And I think if we notice that, that there is that, I think the rest of the league is going to notice that too.
No, they just haven't taken any games off. They shouldn't take games off. They shouldn't take outs off. And, here's the concern I have when you're talking about the postseason and you're talking about a team that gets hot. Who's the team that normally gets hot? It's the wild card team, right? Because they got to somehow
seen that over and over.
Yep. So more often than not, it's the wild card team that somehow makes a lot of noise in the postseason. What I like about the Brewers this year, okay, is that they're not going to be playing in the wild card game. And I know I just contradicted myself, but
I hear what you're saying.
If we've watched what's happened with the Milwaukee Brewers over the years, it's that they get into that wild card game and then they have to expend their pitching staff a little bit more. And then what happens to them in that first series, they go out because their pitching staff is all screwed up. So this is a perfect scenario where they can go into the postseason and they can set things up the way that they want to. And at the end of the day, they'll have nobody to blame besides themselves because they go into it in a perfect setting with their rotation.
Andy Dorf on Sports. Follow him on all the social medias, Dorf on Sports. Before we go to football, because I do want to talk a little football with you, how much did the injury to Corbin Burns change the season for the Arizona Diamondbacks? Burns signs the big deal during the offseason. He's only 3-2, but he had a 2.66 ERA. He had a strikeout an inning, better than 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, was pitching. I would say, I don't know that he was pitching great, but he was pitching really well. Got 11 starts in before the injury. How much did that change the Diamondback season?
Oh, 100%. It changed it completely. It was detrimental. It was almost like when he went down, man, the announcement came. It was almost like there was a death out here. Like, I'm not even kidding, So, and I think that you've seen what transpired throughout the year. They tried, man. They really, really tried to stay competitive. And for the most part, they still are competitive, but they're a little under 500 competitive instead of being a little over 500 competitive. And I think ultimately it made the trade deadline much easier for them to say, hey, we're gonna try to retool a little bit, and we'll go back to the drawing board a little bit, and we're not going to get rid of a few guys that we really, really like, but ultimately we're going to go into this and we're going to move forward, and we're going to do what's best for the organization. But it made it so much easier when Corbin went down.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's when you're in that gray area. That makes things a lot more difficult, and it's hard to plan for the future. Andy Dorf joining us, Dorf on Sports, based in Phoenix, Milwaukee native. Want to talk a little football with you, and I'll start just with like a Cardinals question, because I feel like people are kind of like people
Sleeping?
think the Cardinals. Yeah, people. Well, I think people think the Cardinals could be pretty good this year. People think Kyler Murray's. I had him on my fantasy team last year. People think he could be even better this year. I'm trying to find the over-under for wins, and I'll find that in a little bit for what the team over-under for wins is. But I think the Cardinals could be pretty decent this year. Is that the feel down there?
Absolutely, that's the feel. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be much better this season. And
I just drafted him on my team this year last night.
Good draft, because I think he's going to have a big year. I think that you talked about Kyler. I talked to him not too long ago, and he's a great kid, okay? There's been a lot of talk about him and his work ethic, and that he doesn't, he plays video games. Look, man, I don't know many kids these days that don't play video games, okay? I got a video game that I'm hooked on. It's a golf game, okay? And I'm absolutely hooked on it, okay?
Sure.
So I get the fact of kids wanting to play games and this and that and the other. But when it comes to being a baller and a guy that goes out there and gives it his all, Kyler does that each and every week. And in practice, man, he is a kid that's out there trying to show you what he's got.
Yeah.
So I've liked the progression that I've seen with Kyler. And I think it goes back to the year that he had to sit out. Okay. He
Mhm.
sat out a year. He was able to sit on the sidelines and he's able to give it a real look where he's not the guy in the middle of the fire, but he could see everything that's going on that field. So I think that the year off for Kyler paid such huge dividends for him. And I look at him as one of, he could be an elite quarterback this year, Mitch.
Mm-hmm. I could see that, and I think we saw that. We saw flashes of it last year. Obviously, we saw flashes of it earlier in his career, and then he struggled, and then he had the injury. But we saw, the over/under for the Cardinals at the Potawatomi Sportsbook is 8.5 wins. Like they think they're going to go 9-8 or 10-7, and that's in the playoff discussion. That's a competitive team in a competitive division.
Yeah, I would say 10-7 is a pretty good guess as to what the Cardinals are going to do this year. And you talked about the division. Like, I don't know. I don't think anybody's jumping out at me in the division, to be honest.
No, but everybody's like the 49ers should be back to decent. The Rams are good. They're not great, but they're good. The Seahawks might take a little step back. But everybody's like, I think everybody's, nobody's great, but nobody's awful.
No, and then with the concerns about Matt Stafford and his back throughout the year, so
Yep.
we'll have to see how that all plays out. But if it comes down to me, I think the Rams are probably the best in the division.
Yeah, I think that's
if
right.
you look
They're
at
the
it.
favorite.
But then San Francisco could be better than people think. They'll get Brandon Ayuk back in about 6 weeks, I think, or something like that. I think they're slated. So they'll get better as the season goes on. And at the end of the day, man, you know this as well as I do, and it's no different than any other sport. It doesn't really matter how you start. It's kind of how you finish.
Absolutely.
And as long as you're healthy
That's
when
right.
it matters, that's all that matters. So going into this year, health is a concern for everybody. But if all's equal and the Cardinals can stay healthy, I think they have as good a shot to win the division as anybody.
Andy Dorf on Sports. Follow him on Twitter at Dorf on Sports. Joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. So I'll leave you with the question we started with, but just from a different perspective. We asked about what it's like being in Arizona, being a Brewers fan. So what's it like being in Arizona, watching the Packers, and what are your expectations, not just of the Packers, but maybe specifically for Jordan Love this season?
Yeah, I got an interesting one on Jordan Love. I'll tell you about that one in private because it's a crazy one that I put together. So,
okay.
but here's the deal. I got to get this in because I heard you say it earlier in the show. I happen to check you guys out a little bit.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Throughout this morning, and you were talking about guys that got cut, and. There's a kid that's near and dear to my heart that was trying to make the Green Bay Packers. He's been on my show several times. He's a great kid. He's from the great state of Wisconsin, grew up in Whitefish Bay, played his collegiate career at Northern Illinois University. And I think you probably at this point know who I'm talking about. And that's JJ Lippy. JJ is a great kid. He really is. And I know that JJ is going to find his way in the NFL. And think about that when you really think about life and the opportunities. This kid is trying to play out his childhood dream of being a professional athlete and playing football. And he had the opportunity to go and potentially make the Green Bay Packers, but he did get cut. And I do think he'll find his way in the NFL because he's too smart, number one. And number two, I know the work ethic. The kid is a really, really hard worker. So I'm pulling for JJ Lippy. Out of all those guys that you mentioned, he's near and dear to my heart. So
love that.
Just wanted to throw that out there, especially since probably people in Wisconsin where you are don't even know that he's from the great state of Wisconsin, and he had an awesome opportunity to go out there and showcase his talents. And I do think he'll find his way. What was your question again? I'm sorry, man.
Just like, being in Phoenix and what
Yeah.
your expectations are for the Packers, what you hear more on a national level about what people are talking about the Packers.
Yeah, so I think that the Packers are in that tier where we're saying they're not quite Super Bowl worthy, but they're playoff worthy type team, and obviously this all falls on Jordan Love. You mentioned that too, and he's a great player. We know that, but ultimately it comes down to his decision making, and at times that does get questioned. And I think that ultimately, I think you have a very good squad. You have a really good running back in Jacobs. The wide receiver core, I think, is good. I don't think it's great. Good tight ends, obviously, good protection on that offensive line. I think your defense is going to be much better than people are expecting. So my expectations for the Green Bay Packers, 12-5, maybe 11-6, something like
Okay.
that. And I think that they have an opportunity to win your division.
Nice. Yeah, I think that Packers fans would probably take 12-5 because that then you're absolutely in that conversation with the Lions. And I don't know, I don't know what you think about the Vikings. I think it's tough with a first year starting quarterback. Listen, things could go really well for them, but they did trade for Thielen today because they have nobody in that wide receiver room. I also
Yeah.
think with the Bears, like the Bears might need a year of adjustment with Ben Johnson, and is Caleb Williams any good? I think it's really Lions versus Packers, and I'm excited to see week one. Like Lions and Packers. Let's
Yeah,
go right away.
right out of the gate, you get the Green Bay Packers and the Lions. You mentioned Caleb Williams. Well, let's just talk for a quick second about this guy because it's only a quick second that you need. You know,
Mhm.
have you ever talked about a guy that had more hype than Caleb Williams who hasn't lived up to it? I mean, come on, man. And they talk about him.
Any quarterback for the Cleveland Browns,
Yeah, but they
right?
talk about him like potentially being the best quarterback in Chicago Bears history, and I'm
No.
sitting there going, that that list is so short. It almost doesn't matter. But I'm not I'm not a hater, but that's a kid that I don't mind seeing him fail, to be honest
Mhm.
with you, because he came in with so much hype and he came in kind of arrogant and cocky. And you know what? This is what you get. You get an offensive line that can't protect you, and you got to run for your life, man. And good luck doing that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It was a challenge last year. I know they did some things to beef up the line, but I'm excited that the Bears are still the Bears. I will say that. Andy Dorf on Sports joining us. Andy Dorf is a part of the Sports Byline USA Broadcast Network. He's on every Sunday morning from 10 to noon, our time, 8 to 10 locally in Arizona. Andy, thank you so much for jumping on today. We will definitely talk to you down the line, and keep up that Wisconsin pride down there in Arizona.
Always, my friend. Appreciate you as always, Mitch. Have a great day, Thunder.
Thank you. You as well. That's Andy Dorf on Sports. A great friend of the program, and always great to catch up with him as well. Um, does the big Tommy? I didn't get the memo yet. Does the Big Ten have 43 teams yet? Do we have 43 teams
Approaching,
approaching? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
18 going on 43.
18 going on 43. We're going to talk a little bit about Big Ten expansion rumors in our Business of Sports segment that we get into every day in the 10 o'clock hour. And then, of course, we'll wind things up with Thunder Watch today. We'll get into our Thunder Watch list. It's been a couple weeks, so I got to see who's on my mind. Who am I keeping an extra eye on this week? My name is Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. The Mason Crosby Show is presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. Andy Dorf joined us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Our thanks to Andy for jumping on that line. More of the Mason Crosby Show here on 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, The Fan, next. This is this will play. It's the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. We're in the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Again, our thanks to Andy Dorf and earlier the show, Dave Schrader from WBAY, both for jumping on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. And we're on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee. Make sure you use at The Fan Milwaukee. And remember, when you're on YouTube, you've got that column to your right with where you can chat and comment and all those sorts of things as well. So if you want to write in funny things or post funny things, you can do that. My name is Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. Remember, I'm in for Sparky today. We're going to be at Stenny's on 2nd and National. I know he was at Stenny's Lake Country yesterday. Tommy, what'd you have to eat yesterday?
I did not eat there yesterday.
What are we doing? What have I taught you?
I also ate before I got the brewskis.
Have I literally taught you nothing?
Listen, if you're on remote 4 days in a row, while all of these places have phenomenal food and looks delicious, and everyone else has taken advantage of it, I am like totally okay not stuffing my face 4 days in a row at the exact same time of just all the fried goodness that is all of the places we have gone. Not to say that I would not.
Dude, you can get a salad and a grilled chicken. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, but what's the fun in that?
I agree. But if you're not going to eat, you got all right. I've taught, but basically just say, Mitch, you've taught me nothing. So just say that. Just I've learned nothing from you, Mitch.
I do not have the same desire
to eat everything in sight all the time
from the foods that you have. Yes.
Like, do you not love eating all the time?
I do love eating all the time, but this is how I look like this, eating all the time already. So like,
all right, you're right.
Gotta make sure that we're like picking and choosing here. All right. So I woke up. I know we want to get to, and we'll get to it in a minute. Some Big Ten expansion rumors. But I did put a question up on my Thunder MKE Facebook page that I wanted to get a little reaction to. And the question I wrote was, where do you get your sports news from? TV, radio, social media, specifically Twitter, websites like the 4-letter word or other websites? I was just really interested because I woke up and my Twitter was like exploding with Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons. Packers are preparing a deal. Packers are in talks. Packers this, Packers that, Packers clickbait, Packers websites, Packers podcasts, all these people saying all these weird, And so I was wondering, like, where do people, when that happens, when my Twitter blows up like that, where do I go? Do I go to the radio? Do I just keep hitting reload on Twitter? Do I go to my apps? Like I have CBS Sports and I have ESPN and I have Yahoo and I have, whatever, I don't know who else has, where else I should be going. Or do I go to, or I don't even, what other, besides Twitter, Facebook, I guess. So I put up, what would I do? Mike Clemens, friend of show, Packers beat reporter, says, usually I get my news from covering it. But everyone still calls it Twitter, as they should. I don't know what that is, but he says he usually does it on Twitter. Mike Wickett, friend of show, says the most accurate opinions come from www.x.com/Mike Wickett. I like that. But in all seriousness, Twitter is where I find the most news. Mike says TV, radio, social media, but I'm not on Twitter, so Facebook for him. Brian Sutton, Stephanie Sutton's husband, our friend from Channel 12. You know who I'm friends with here? A lot of media people. Says from my wife. Walt says from websites. Justin says from Facebook and Twitter. Sean says mostly Twitter, but he has notifications set on for any big news breakers nationally and locally. And like I could put notifications on, but I feel like if there's big breaking news, don't we get breaking news alerts anyway? Whether we have I don't know that I have a breaking news. I must have something from. Do you know that I have notifications on for all of the Brewers beat writers that are at the games, covering the games. Anyone from
Drew, Jack, Todd, Kurt,
and McCalvin
and Adam.
Yeah,
yes.
all of them.
Okay.
All of them
all
have
right.
it on. So I cannot watch.
But you get their
games.
minutia also.
Well, I can't watch games on my phone.
Oh,
because I just see
Right,
the
because
notification come by. Like they're so on top of it. Like,
right. And if you're watching on FanDuel Sports, it's 30 seconds delayed.
well, right.
Or
Yeah. If
12
something
seconds
like
delayed or
that.
whatever.
But either way, like it is impossible to watch games on my phone because of Twitter notifications.
Corey says CBSSports.com is where I usually go to, and then Facebook, then YouTube. Paul says Twitter, ESPN doesn't carry news, only shows where people yell at each other. Pete says Twitter. Anthony says ESPN website, which I do use them. And Frank says mostly on Twitter. So I think it's a lot. I think Twitter for a long time, and I still view it this way. Like to me, Twitter is just like the AP, what the AP Newswire used to be. Like if you can get through all the garbage and the crap that's on Twitter, the biggest breaking news or the most recent breaking news is always on Twitter. I really believe that. Now, the problem is like I used to be able to arrange my Twitter by most recent. I don't know if I can still do that, but it always reverts back to like whatever they want to push out, which I'm not looking for my algorithm on Twitter like I am on TikTok. I'm looking for the latest news. Like, why can't I just have the latest news? That's what I want. So I don't know. I was just curious about that, where people get their news. But I know you found some news earlier today from Brett McMurphy, who I don't know. Brett McMurphy is America's college football insider with On3 Sports. And so he does a college football show. He says, Big Ten expanding again. Maryland athletic director says, who will be the new teams and what role does Notre Dame play in it? I know that I saw a report last week that said the Big Ten is looking to get to like 24 or so. I don't know if that means they're looking for teams from smaller conferences or if they want teams from bigger conferences to move in. Like if the Big Ten got UCLA and USC, I don't know why they wouldn't just go get Stanford and Cal. Like if you're already becoming this national thing, it doesn't make any sense to me that Stanford and Cal are in the ACC. Like if I'm the big, and those are big prestigious universities with huge money, huge endowments, huge research, very well thought of academically. If I was the Big Ten, I don't know why I wouldn't just go get Stanford and Cal right away. Like those are my first two calls. If I'm the Big Ten, I'm going to get Stanford and Cal, and then I'll figure out what's going on with Notre Dame or what's going on with some other teams. But I think Stanford and Cal is my first call.
I feel like Missouri makes sense.
Missouri makes sense as well.
Get them out of the SEC, but it kind of geographically is there.
So then do you have to go Kansas?
Right, yeah. Is it another
I don't really want Kansas. Kansas is dumb.
But Kansas brings in a lot for basketball for it as well. You know,
point.
So Kansas comes in, Missouri. Does Kansas State come in because of that?
Nobody needs. I mean, we all love Jordy, right? Jordy's our best friend. We played softball with him. He hit bombs.
He did.
We don't need Kansas State.
I think that Notre Dame, Missouri, and Kansas make the most sense. I don't know if they want to keep going more west. But
if they've already got LA, you might as well take San Francisco, right? You've got USC and UCLA. You've got LA. Why not go Stanford and Cal, which is basically the San Francisco market?
I don't know. It just doesn't really do. What about like getting Syracuse then? You get New York,
right?
Like something along those lines.
Right, because they have Rutgers for New Jersey, which is south of New York.
Right.
Then you go Syracuse, which is north of New York.
Another basketball school. I don't know who they could add realistically that would elevate football other than Notre Dame.
Yeah. Because it's either them or the SEC, and none of the football teams are leaving the SEC.
Right. Missouri is like the only one that comes to mind just because it's kind of a bottom feeder in the SEC, but it also makes sense geographically.
Yeah, I can see your Missouri. I can see your Missouri. I think Missouri, Kansas. I still think Stanford, Cal just makes sense. Because they've already done it. They've already gone to Washington and Oregon.
Does that mean they're more likely to do it again, though? Like, aren't they kind of locked into the ACC at this point?
I don't think they're locked in for too long.
Could they get Clemson before the SEC does?
Oh.
Do they want Clemson? Does Clemson want to go to the Big Ten or the SEC? Probably, right? They want to get out of the ACC.
Right, but I think they'd much rather choose the SEC.
I agree, and it would probably
the Big Ten.
It would protect their rivalry with South Carolina as well that they do every year, but that's another team that makes sense if the Big Ten wants to expand south. Notre Dame obviously is the prize, but
Yes.
I just don't see why Notre Dame would join a conference at this point, because
I wouldn't either.
they set up the rules for the college football playoff, so they will always be benefited if they are the 5th seed. And on top of it, then they don't have to share any of their TV money with anyone else. So why would Notre Dame want to do it? It doesn't make much sense to me. I think they have to go after, like I said, Kansas kind of makes the most sense right now.
Is there any way you go after Kentucky? Because again, if we're talking geographically, Kentucky is next to Indiana and Ohio. Kentucky is a state that is, while it has Southern roots, is very well known for its independence and not being as wedded to the South as a bunch of those other Southern states are. Would a school like Kentucky or would a school like Louisville have any interest for you?
Louisville makes sense to me, I think.
I think Louisville.
I just don't see, Kentucky's not going to leave. The SEC won't let them leave because of basketball,
Okay.
right? And maybe the Big 12 is the same way with Kansas, but I don't think that the weight of the Big 12 is as much as the weight of the SEC.
I think Louisville could be the call.
Louisville makes sense, and I understand that as well for them. But it just doesn't, like, how are they going to get to this number? It's got to start with Notre Dame if they want to keep expanding.
Right.
And I just don't see why Notre Dame would do it.
Right. I mean, to that point, and to your point, I think we take Notre Dame out of the conversation because I think Notre Dame, if they can get Notre Dame's in, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like that's 1A, right? So then after Notre Dame, I like your call on Missouri. I like my call on Louisville, and Louisville's really on the Indiana, Illinois, Missouri corridor right there. So that Missouri would make sense. I see Kansas. I mean, Kansas is just right below Nebraska, right next to Missouri. It's right there. And then so what do we got? We got Missouri, we've got Louisville, we've got Kansas. I've got Stanford and Cal. I want one more school. I want Notre Dame. I guess
Washington State.
No, you can't. Washington State and Oregon State are not separating. They're
going to stay with that Pac-12, try to build it back up. And who went over with them, right? Like Boise State went too, and so like that would probably be out of the question.
Is there a school in Texas? Is there, like, do you go get Rice?
Baylor? Rice? No, absolutely not.
Because Rice is in Houston. Like, Rice is in a major city. Baylor's not.
I don't think so. I think they missed out on Cincinnati. Like, Cincinnati would have been a good one then if they wanted to add something like that. If they were thinking about expanding later on.
They still could get Cincinnati.
Sure, yeah. Cincinnati makes sense, again, geographically.
Yeah.
And then you could have some Ohio State with them.
And Penn State. Penn State's
right
Western,
there. Yeah. I still... Like Syracuse makes sense to me. West Virginia kind of makes sense.
I don't think you want West Virginia. I just don't.
I feel like West Virginia always has like an exciting year every once in a while, but that's probably because they're playing the ACC schedule too. Right. How competitive are they going to be in the Big Ten? Like that's the other thing, Mitch, is like you got to talk. They're not going to add Louisville and then the football team is just a mid football team. Like they want to add Notre Dame because Notre Dame they feel like could be competitive at the top part of the Big Ten. And I think Cal and Stanford are not very competitive. Cal just talked about last week how they were talking about holding on the football program because it's not making as much money and people aren't showing up to the games out there. And it's such an expensive sport to maintain. Like, I don't think Cal and Stanford make sense for the Big Ten, even though they just left the Pac-12 when they did. Like, but you're better off adding a North Dakota State.
So you are viewing this. And we're coming from a little bit of a different angle here, though. You are viewing this from a football perspective. I'm viewing it from a holistic perspective. Stanford and Cal are multi-billion-dollar schools.
Absolutely.
Where Louisville's not.
Correct.
Like a lot of these schools are not. In terms of research, in terms of sports 1 through 30, not just 1 and 2, and in terms of being in one of the 5 or 6 biggest cities in America and representing those, I think Cal and Stanford have to be at the top of the list. Where, like, yes, if you are looking at football only, Boise State's ahead of those 2 schools, but who the hell's adding? Like, you got to add, the reason they added Rutgers was not because of football. They added it because they wanted penetration in the New York market. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why Stanford and Cal make sense, is because now you have penetration in the San Francisco market. Now you own California. You own California if you
Right,
got that.
right.
And I think that's and Stanford and Cal have a history of success. Could they get back there? I mean, Stanford just hired Andrew Luck. Like they clearly want to get back there as a program.
Maybe, but I feel like they're kind of in the same boat as Wisconsin right now too, where they're just not serious in this era of college football.
I have a real quick Texas school that would make Mason Crosby really happy that I want to throw out. You try to go get Tech. Because you're not getting Texas, you're not getting Texas A&M. Is Texas Tech worth talking to so that you have at least some presence in the state of Texas?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but it's also in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Like, not a lot is close to Lubbock. It's not like it's close to Dallas, Austin, or Houston, any of those either. So I think that
good point.
If they want to go after it, that is probably the easiest team to. But I think that you need to look at it.
What about Houston?
Well, they just went to the Big 12 too. That was the team. And also, again, like you're not looking at it from a football perspective when literally the NCAA revolves around football.
Well, Texas, the NCAA does, but money wise,
it makes the most money for these conferences too.
It does. But again, I'll go back to, and Stanford and Cal are anomalies. They are built multi-billion-dollar schools without having good football programs. I understand that that's more the anomaly than the norm. It's a fun conversation to have, that's for sure. We should definitely revisit this with Mason either on Friday or next week because I'm sure he will have some big feels. We'll just tell him that Colorado already made the announcement that they're moving to the Big Ten, and like Colorado and Colorado State are coming together. So he'll just have to deal with that. He's Tommy Wirtz. I'm Mitch Nelles, aka Thunder. Time for Thunder Watch coming up, and it should be a fun one. 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Do you have any schools that you specifically want to see join this Big 18 as they have this goal one day of becoming the Big 24? Then they can really have two divisions of 12 and split up and be two different conferences again, which will probably have, the Big 10 East and West or whatever that looks like. 414-677-1250. Who is your team to join the Big Ten? This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers.
Take a number. I was lightning before the thunder.
Hey everybody, football season is back and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. You can play right now in Wisconsin. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get them right. You can win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week, I'll be honest with you, I'm looking at Notre Dame. We're the new home for Notre Dame. I'm looking at Notre Dame football, Notre Dame Miami playing Sunday, but I'm also mixing in Bryce Terang, because it's all Bryce all the time. Hits, total bases, home runs. And I put a little Bill Contreras in there too because he is fun to play with. Download the app today. Sign in with promo code ThunderMKE to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code ThunderMKE. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 or over and present in Wisconsin. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Billy Edwards.
Billy Edwards?
Put Billy Edwards on Thunderwatch.
You're going with Billy Edwards on Thunderwatch.
Yep.
And then we should revisit that right away on Friday because they're playing as 17.5-point favorites Thursday night.
If they don't cover the spread, he should stay on it.
Billy Edwards, Miami of Ohio at the Badgers, 8 p.m. game Thursday night. New quarterback. Get used to that name, Billy Edwards. Say it with me. Tommy has made the nomination. He has said it. So let it be written. So let it be in stone. Billy Edwards on Thunderwatch. Love it. This has been the Mason Crosby Show. Remember, I'm on today from 2 to 5 at Stenny's on 2nd and National. Wings. For me, you should get wings too. This afternoon, we're there from 2 to 6:30. Tommy will be there from 5 to 6:30 with the leadoff show, Brewers and Diamondbacks tonight. The Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. We're in the fan studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. It's great to be back, everybody. Let's go take a nap.
I was